Welcome to another Demarcation Media. No, this is not really Mega Construx. It's kind of Mega Construx. Not really. I don't actually know what this is, guys. To be totally honest, this is... There's not even any brand on here. What the heck? Marvel Classic Hero Series? That's not a brand. Bro, did the company not, put any... What? So this is from Aliexpress. That might explain some of the confusion here. And I saw this because I saw one of these guys in one of the Mega Facebook groups, and everybody thought it was a custom Mega Construx Iron Man. The joints were basically Mega, so I found them, mostly on accident, looking for some certain Mega figures, some rare, strange ones. And I found this, and I bought it. And we're going to take a look at it. I really have no idea what to expect. So, we are going to open this up. This might be the, best purchase of my life. Or probably actually not. The best purchase of my life I made was the ring that I gave to my fiance. Or it might be the worst purchase of my life. It could easily be the worst purchase of my life. This was $30 for a whole case. But it looks so much like Mega, and we've seen so few Mega releases lately that I was like, you know what? This looks interesting enough to take a look at. And I thought I wasn't going to need my knife, but I guess I am. Knife. That will take care of that pesky little piece of tape. And let's get this open. I said, there's the top of the box if you want to see that. There's 8 figures in this box, but there's only 7 variants of Iron Man. So I'm a little confused as to who we have doubles of. So they come in these little boxes. Oh, they're officially licensed. Look at that. Not everything you get from AliExpress is bootleg. Look at that. It's got the Disney licensing. Still no brand. Look at this, though. Look at this. That is straight up Mega Construx joints. You can't tell me it's not. Straight up. That's even a Mega Construx waist unit. Okay, so we've got Mark II. Well, I probably should pull them out in order. Mark I. It's gotten a bit dinged up. The whole box was a bit dinged up, so hopefully none of the pieces are damaged. But Iron Man Mark I, Iron Man Mark II, Iron Man Mark III, Iron Man Mark IV, V, the Suitcase armor. Also, this packaging is real shiny. That's really cool. I'm kind of impressed by the presentation so far. Mark VI. Okay, and then we have 2 Mark VIIs. Let's go ahead and, I guess, pop one of these things open. The first thing I'm noticing, these things smell weird. The boxes smell a little strange. Like a hardware store or something. I don't know. Although, Joy Toy smells sometimes really bad, so I don't know. They say Classic Hero selection or Classic Hero series or whatever. They might do more. What does it say on the box? What? There's this little rhyme. Or what? I fought with my armor made of steel, but full of ingenuity, sprinting, leaping, flying in the face of all difficulties, no longer timid. Okay, that's what it says on all of them. Interesting. That's very poetic. Okay, so this is cross between Lego. So if Lego and Mega had a baby, this is what we would end up with. Yeah, it definitely smells plasticky and a little odd. Oh, look at this. We got a trading card. Ooh. Wow. I can't read it. It's in Chinese or something. Tony Stark, normal, Mark I. 1 star out of 5. That's kind of funny. That's cool, though, actually. That's pretty cool. And then we've got this stand. It's got some studs on it. They call this a model kit, which I guess it kind of is. And then we've got instructions on how to build it. Parts checklist. Wow, this is pretty comprehensive. And then we've got these. So I guess we're gonna try to build it. Although, you know what? First, let me open up Mark II so we can kind of see what's going on there too. All right. Got some pieces on runners. More pieces. Another stand. Oh, we got a different card. This card's back is different. Look at this. Oh, it's got 2 stars out of 5 this time. Tony Stark. Crack? What? This is no longer normal Tony Stark. This is crack Tony Stark. Oh, I love translation problems. That's so funny. Okay, then we've got more instructions. So let's build these. Where do we start? Okay, we start here. There's the head. Head looks decent. Oh, it's having a hard time sticking on. Although, Mega has that same problem sometimes, so I can't really complain too much. But wow, that's really hard to stick on. So we're gonna continue without putting the head on. All right, so I've built every single one of these Iron Man figures, and there's a pretty good amount to talk about, I would say. I will say, painful to build all of these in a row. Very painful. I mean, those of you who have built Mega figures know how building these things can go. So the first thing I want to do is grab one of these guys off the stand and take a look at the size, because I feel like that's the first thing we need to establish here is how big are these guys exactly, because looking at the pictures, it's not a very good indicator of what these guys actually are in comparison to, say, Mega or Lego. We are going to go ahead and start off with the classic, the Mark VI, and I'm sure the first thing you all want to know is how do they size to Mega figures. So here's me. You can see he's probably about 2 heads taller, perhaps, give or take. And while the joints are pretty much the same, he's definitely bigger. I do wish these guys sized properly to normal Mega figures. So to continue the Mega comparison, let's get a fallen captain in. Okay, so a fallen captain is pretty much the exact same size, you know, minus the little horns on his head or whatever those are. So a hunter is a bit beefier. Still generally the same size though. And then a minifigure, here's a Lego Iron Man. It's about half the size of the actual figure. Just for fun, let me drop in a 6-inch action figure. This is the Black Series Season 2 Hunter. Don't focus on the background. There we go. You can see he is very tiny. So he's about a little under 3 inches, I guess. If this guy's 6, he's 3 inches-ish. And then also, just for fun, the 1000 Toys Master Chief, who is much larger. Well, not much larger, but he does tower a bit over the normal Black Series figures, which is actually great because it's like properly scaled, kind of. So yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea of what the size of these guys are, because again, the detail is, it's hard to tell when you see photos actually how big they are. Now I want to go over all the extras you get, because you get a fair amount. Here is all the collectible cards you get. They're honestly really cool. Like the back of them, woohoo, come back. You get a different back for every card, so they look fantastic. The cards are holographic. You get a rating, like I guess a power rating for each suit. Tony Stark normal, like we saw. Tony Stark crack. Don't know what that means. Mark III, Tony Stark still crack. I can't read all that at the bottom. Maybe somebody can tell me what that says. This is Tony Stark. I keep going out of screen. What is this? Still crack. This is Tony Stark Legend. This is Tony Stark Normal. And this is Tony Stark Epic. And this has like max power. So that's pretty cool. I think that was a nice touch. It feels very premium and like collectible the way that this is all done. Even the way that the boxes are done and with like the shininess there. It's really nice. I've appreciated that. Now, for accessories, you get a lot. So for Mark I, you get these copies of Lego's Effect Blast pieces, which is pretty cool. Although, I'm not really sure how these are supposed to be used, because you can't actually stick them to be used as like flame effects or whatever. It's kind of weird. There's no way to attach them on aside from him just holding them like a sword, because you don't get any extra hands. You do get extra like side panel pieces, and you get an extra joint. So interesting, but not super useful. Now with the other ones, you get extra hands. So if you get all of them, you can kind of use them there, which is slick. Peg that in there. See, that's cool. But yeah, this was really impressive to me. So you get hands, you get fists. So that's what the fist looks like. Detail is a bit lacking on there, but you can tell it's a fist. You get open palm hands. So this is actually the open palm flying hand. You can see it's like bent upward. That shows it's the flying hand. And then you get an open palm shooting hand, which is kind of the fingers are tilted forward. And then in addition, you also get some Call of Duty-esque hand clips. These worry me a little bit. I don't know how they'll hold up over time, because Megas are a bit iffy. There's also sprue left over on it. But I really appreciate the fact that you get all of that. You do get an extra joint as well, which is cool. And then you get a set of these 4 blast pieces, which are super useful. I don't know where they originally came from, or if they're just their own brand new thing, but you can peg that in there. And then you can also peg it into the feet, which we'll look at in a minute. So you get 4 of those per figure, and then you get these fist pieces that are also ripped from Lego's designs. So that's pretty cool. You get basically the same thing for the other figures. The only real difference is that with the Mark VI, you also get an extra gold joint too. So that's pretty cool. Lots of stuff. Like, this is accessories I would expect from a 6-inch action figure, and not necessarily a tiny figure. But in addition, you get the stand, very nicely molded. You get some studs that mostly work. And then you get these clear pieces, which are definitely ripped from Mega. I'm actually kind of impressed. I was expecting these to start cracking up the instant I plugged them together, but they seem to be holding up okay. Almost more than Mega's usually does. And then you get these tiny little action figure clip things on here that can just clip onto the figure. So in terms of extras, you are not lacking in the slightest here. So here's the Mark I, and overall the detail is pretty darn good. The dark gunmetal is an interesting color choice. Usually it's a brighter silver, but I kind of dig it. I think it's pretty good overall. The helmet, molded pretty well. Looks kind of awkward like the actual one did. And interestingly enough, the lower legs are molded in such a way that makes them almost look a bit knock-kneed. And I thought that was at first a mistake, but I'm realizing it's not, and it's just made to look awkward. Detail around the back is great, and I mean, overall, I'm kind of impressed. There are some pieces you probably want to glue on, especially those little side bits there. They fall off easily. But for such a small figure, I'm pretty impressed with it. The Mark II looks vastly superior, in my opinion. The finish on this is gorgeous. The way the light is hitting it, like, look at that. It's so perfect. The pieces are molded really well. I think this is, I don't know, I can't really complain too much. The hands are a different color. They're like more of a flat gray. It matches the torso that's underneath. So it's a little jarring, but I don't feel like that's worth complaining about too much. The molding is overall done really well. And again, that silver finish, it's so perfect. The Mark III was when Iron Man got his classic candy red and gold colors. And this figure has that finish as well. The candy red looks brilliant. I really like it. The gold is a bit toned down, not too shiny. I like that as well. The helmet detail is a little lacking with this guy. Obviously, Mark II didn't really have extra helmet detailing. This guy has the gold faceplate. The one side is not printed far enough back, and it just feels a little thin overall. So that was a little bit of a letdown. Overall, I'm still pretty happy with it, but yeah, that head could have been done better, could have been done more sharply, but the rest of the gold looks pretty good. There's not too much overspray, and of course, just the candy finish looks really good. It looks like Iron Man. The Mark IV is basically the same as the Mark III. Like, it's not all that much different going on. It's got a different chest plate, and that's mostly it here. The gold, again, looks great. The red, again, looks great. The head is okay. It still could be sharper, and the gold could go farther back. I think that's my biggest issue with these figures as a whole so far. But the arc reactor looks nice. There's a weird little, like, dent in it, which is odd. But overall, looks really good. Just very, very similar to the Mark III. Something I wanted to note about the Mark IV is that my particular copy, the studs won't connect, which is a bit of a pain, especially because that means the little flight pieces won't stick either, which means I'm going to have to do something, probably line those holes with glue to make them actually hold, because you kind of need those pieces to stay in there if you want them in flight poses. The Mark V has the most different pieces on it. So there's a lot of shared molds across these Iron Man figures, and I think that's fine, but I think this particular figure is one that gets hurt a bit by those shared molds. For example, the shoulders should not be that bulky. Those are like the Mark III, Mark II, Mark III, so on shoulders. It should not be that bulky. The Mark V is a very slimmed down armor because it was in a suitcase. So I think that was a weird choice. But there are different front armor pieces for the thighs. The chest plate's different. The forearms are different. There's a lot of silver going on. The back plate I don't think is any different than the others, which again maybe should have been, but that's less important than I think the shoulders are. It just gives the Mark V a wider stance than it actually has. And the forearms are thick, so you can see the shooting hand kind of has to be cocked off to the side to fit in more. You can get it to rotate a bit, but you have to pop it forward. I don't know, it's a little odd. Also, the head is done pretty well. I think the silver is a bit thin, but the head is lacking the line detail. You can see on the Lego figure, it's got the lines on the face. That's actually carved in, at least in the film it is. So probably the most inaccurate of the figures overall, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's close enough, you know what it's supposed to be, and it still looks pretty cool. I mainly am just wishing that they had done the detail on the face, because that's a pretty distinct feature of this armor. The Mark VI is probably one of my favorites of this lineup, and overall it looks pretty good. Again, the shoulders, since they're reused from the earlier model suits, aren't quite accurate, but I think they're close enough that it can be excused. The triangle chest plate core piece looks really good. The silver could have been a little sharper, I think, but it's not horrible. The face is printed, I think, the best that I've seen so far. The gold is still a little on the thin side, but it's actually even on the edges for the most part. So I really like that. Yeah, overall it looks really good. I like the addition of the silver. The chest plate is printed with the silver too, and so are the arms. So I used to have, well, I had the Mark 7, which we'll look at in a second, but I used to have a Hasbro figure, the anniversary version, and it didn't look this good. It didn't. And last but not least, we have the Mark 7. Again, the shoulders here are pretty darn incorrect. They look close enough. I'm willing to excuse it because of the way that they're reusing molds here. But yeah, they're not quite correct. The legs are also a bit different, and you know, it's not 100% accurate. Printing all looks pretty good. The head's done, it's done pretty well. Again, could be sharper, I think. And the red kind of comes up a little bit further past the mouth than I would expect. Or maybe I should say the gold doesn't go down far enough. But you can see here he's got the flight hands and the effects all attached. That looks sick. That looks so good. Like, look at that. He's in a perfect flying pose. The stand you can attach him to really, really well. It's really easy. It's just a clip and it holds him in there really strong. The Mark 1 has a different type of stand because it's a different type of armor. You can see here that kind of clips on the same way, but all the rest of the figures share the same stand. I think the gold print on the chest is a bit lacking, but other than that and the fact that, you know, it's very inaccurate, it's a really, really nice little figure. So now, how do they articulate? Basically, if you know Mega's system, you'll be pretty familiar with this. It's just Mega's joints, it's Mega's waist unit, it's all of that. So we have a movement up to about here with a T-pose. You can move the shoulder armors too, which was really a nice touch in my opinion. And you can bend the elbow basically to 90. Wow, that one's tight. Basically to 90. Hands rotate. The head can move all over the place. The varying chest plates will limit it. So like Mark 5 has a very limited side to side. This guy bumps a bit. But yeah, you have a ball joint in there, so it's what you would expect. There's a rotation at the waist. I think, yeah, that's a full 360, so you're not limited there at all. The legs, you have the ball joint. You can bring the legs up to about here. Well, about here unless you start turning them. So it bumps, and then you can kind of rotate them outward, and you can get it up higher. So that's, I would wish for more, but the design of the armor kind of limits that. You get a knee bend, pretty much 90-degree knee bend. And with a bit of fiddling, you can get the classic Iron Man landing pose. You just kind of have to finagle it a bit because of how the legs are limited in terms of bringing it up. So, and also this guy's head is a bit limited in the side-to-side movement. But, I mean, that was not too much fiddling, and I got a passable superhero landing pose there. Actually, I should probably mention the Mark 1 because Mark 1's articulation is very different. He can't bring his arms up very far. He has the same bend and everything, but the armor limits him a lot. Like, he has less of a leg bend. But, to be fair, all Mark 1 really did was waddle around. While we're here, that's not something that you can peg things into. That's not the right shape. You can make him fly, and he does come with stuff for him to fly, but that's about it. You can't fit any of the flames in his hands, which is a bummer because having him like pose walking forward would have been awesome. Like, that would have been really awesome. Oh yeah, and there's a rotation at the elbow. I forgot to mention that. That's how you get like the swivel there. Overall, pretty solid articulation. Matches Mega's pretty well. Doesn't really exceed theirs in any way except for in the shoulders. That moving armor is a really nice touch. To round this out, I wanted to give a quick overview of what I think could be issues. There are some pieces, like I said, that pop off, mainly in the thighs because those peg onto the front or the sides where you're moving a lot, so those could pop off. For the most part, though, it feels good. The hands, I was worried they're going to feel fragile, but they're slightly soft, ever so slightly soft, so they're not like brittle. You can pop them in and out with ease. The torsos are soft, so you can pop stuff on and off there. The shoulders are, you could probably break them if you really squeeze them, but you'd have to really try. So my main concern would be that the upper arms, those are soft, and it feels like if you gouge at it a little bit, the paint could come off. The paint over the rest of the figure feels pretty good so far. I haven't seen any like scratching or chipping as of yet. So that is really my main concern, is that those upper arms could potentially rub more than you would expect. But I was kind of surprised that the quality of these feels pretty darn high. Well, there you have it. That is the unnamed, unbranded Aliexpress Iron Man Mega bootleg figures. These are really cool and really strange. I'm a little bit like, where is the brand? Like, I kind of want to tell the brand. That's kind of my job. But if there's a brand, it's hidden in the Chinese somewhere on this packaging. I don't really know. I have to say, though, everything about these figures feels very premium, feels pretty well thought out. There are some weird inconsistencies here and there. Accuracy is, and obviously when you have renders, weird things happen, like his leg is going up into his armor here a little bit. Oh yeah, also there's not a hand like this. There's not one that's like pointed downward. So like, yeah, renders are a little bit janky, but the actual figures are pretty quality. Like, I'm kind of really impressed, and I'm really happy that I stumbled across these and decided to pick them up. The full case of all 8 was $30. Feels fair to me. My double, I'm actually going to weather him because my original figure, my Marvel Legends, I had him all weathered up, and I was really happy with it, and I ended up selling him because I needed space. But I'm going to duplicate that with the extra here. That bonus stuff that you get, like the collectible card, like this does not feel American in its like setup with the collectible cards and all that. Like, it just doesn't feel American, but in a good way. Like, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it feels premium in a way that America would not do, if that makes sense. All of the things like the stands and the tons of extra accessories, like this is most of the accessories all put into a little box. I even still have a bunch of these flame effect pieces. Really, really well done. Really well done. I am impressed. So my main concern, again, is if they're going to age well, particularly the clear plastic. That's one thing I'm like, yeah, is this going to age well? I don't know. Are the rubber pieces of the figure going to age well? I don't know. But if you want an Iron Man and you miss the old Mega Marvel stuff, these are the figures for you. Do they match well with Mega? Not really. They're too big. You can have him fight hunters and whatnot, but he's a little too big. I do wish they were smaller in that regard. End of the day, I would say give these a try. Like, if nothing else, you have a very highly detailed, super, super tiny little Iron Man that you can stick in your pocket and carry around with you. Because, like, who doesn't want a little pocket Iron Man? Like, that's so cool. That's so cool. That's my thoughts. Super random, weird, out-of-the-blue stuff that you find on AliExpress sometimes turns out really, really freaking cool. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.